Welcome back to We Be Kids again. My name's Danny, I'm one of the founders at We Be Kids. I'm an outdoor educator and a storyteller. And today I've popped up to the woods to tell you a little story. Now if you're new to We Be Kids, know that on the website at webekids.net there are lots and lots of stories and nature art activities and outdoor activities and yoga and mindfulness activities, all available for free to help you and your family connect with nature and improve your well-being. Today's story is a lovely little tale from this book called Telling the Seasons. It's written by Martin Maudsley and illustrated by Alison Legg. It's a wonderful little book. It takes you through each of the months and gives you tales and recipes and links to old folklore as well. So the story that I'm going to tell you from this book is called The White Moth, and it is a story from Scotland. It's a story from the coast of Scotland. You see, this story begins in a small little fishing cottage right by the sea, and in this fishing cottage lived the fisherman. Every day he would wake up early, he would take his net out in his boat and he would catch fish that he would then sell at the market. It was a happy life and he was successful. But every night he would sit out in his garden and he would look up to the moon and he would tell the moon of his loneliness. You see, this fisherman had never found a wife. He didn't have any children. And although he loved his job and he loved the place where he lived, he always wished that he could share it with somebody. And every night he would send his own wish up to the moon, that one day he would find the right person to share this life with. And then one night, the man was inside his cottage. He had a small fire going, and he heard something, boof, 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 bashing against the window. He went over and he looked carefully, and there was a white moth. And the white moth continued to bash against the window, and then it flew off and seemed to settle on some hollyhocks outside. And he waited, and it bashed and bashed at the window. He wanted to get a closer look, so he opened the window, and the moth came flying in. And the moth flew around the small cottage and bashed up in the rafters and bashed against the walls. And the man rushed over to the side, and there he had a small paraffin lantern. And he reached down and he took a match and he lit the paraffin lantern. And as the match hit the wick and the light lit the room, the little white moth, driven by an irresistible force, flew across. And as soon as its wing touched the flame, a great flash of light filled the cottage. It threw the man back into his chair, and when he opened his eyes and looked up, there, stood in front of him, in a long white dress with beautiful white hair, was a woman. And he said to the woman, "Who are you? Where have you come from?" And the woman said, "I've been sent by the moon. I am the moth that was tapping at your window, and I have come to answer your plea. You needn't live this life in a lonely way anymore. I have come to be your wife." And the man was shocked. He moved towards her and she said, "But you must promise me. I will stay here with you until we both grow old together. But if you light a lantern in the house again, I will be attracted to it. And if I touch it, I will be gone forever." So the man agreed. And the next week, they were both married in the local church. And the days turned to weeks and the weeks to months, and they lived happily together in this small cottage. But one of the fisherman's neighbours, her daughter, had had a secret admiration for the fisherman, and she'd become very bitter at the arrival of this beautiful woman. She wondered if there was some way that she could get between them. She would walk by the cottage, keeping an eye on them, listening out. And one day, as she was walking past, the window was open, and she heard the lady say to the man, "Be careful, remember not to light the lantern, for if you do, I will be gone forever." This gave the other lady an idea. She waited until the next day when the fisherman was out at sea. And she headed over to the cottage and she knocked on the door and she pretended to be ill, as if she was going to faint. And the lady welcomed her in, and the lady ran outside to get some water from the well. But as she returned and walked through the door, the other lady lit the match, and the wick of the lantern ignited. Immediately, the woman in the white dress transformed back into a moth. She was driven towards the light, and as soon as she touched it, she turned and she flew out of the door, heading towards the sea. And at the same time, the man was on his way back. He was walking across the cliff tops, and he noticed this white fluttering thing coming towards him. He noticed, and as it went over his shoulder, he turned and he ran after it, ran off towards the sea. And neither the man nor the moth were ever seen again. So I hope you enjoyed that little tale. What I like about stories like this is they leave a mysterious ending. It always sparks a level of imagination within me about what happened to them. Where did they go? Did they live happily ever after? I don't know. And I invite you to play with that line of imagination. Maybe you can come up with a story of your own. But I hope you enjoyed that one. And I thank you for stopping by, and we'll see you again sometime soon. Bye.